Okay. Episode 4. We're here. We have arrived. And I am having all the thoughts. I I see everyone in my circles at least, and everyone's on this whole thing of building with AI now. And Claude and Claude Code is like enabling people to go and build all of this crazy stuff that used to take so much money and time and knowledge to be able to do, whether it's apps or websites or business ideas or solving some issue for some person or for something. And I've found myself in the last couple of days, like kind of struggling. Um, Internally and not really sure why. And today I got up and like was in that same frame of mind, and so decided to like take a run to the beach. I'm lucky enough to live close enough to the beach in Melbourne that I can just run down there and kind of get a bit of ocean breeze and clear my head. And what I realized is I'm also in that space. I'm in this kind of build phase of my life, I would call it, where I'm trying to build ideas for a potential future business for myself. I'm trying to build some sort of a presence online that I feel like is like authentic and genuine, trying to build purpose into what I'm doing. And what I'm realizing is that, everyone's out here building all of these random things, and somehow it can feel quite like untethered. And by that, I mean not anchored to like who I am as a person, for example. Like, why am I going building some random application that solves like calendar booking issues if that's not something that I experience, or that's not something that's like interesting for me in my own life. And if I'm letting numbers or data or like what the market wants dictate what I'm focused on, then for me it doesn't feel like enough in a way. And then you have, you see a lot of examples of some of the main players in the AI space right now that create one update and all of these businesses just go under, or all of these people that have been building in these spaces, it's just kind of wiped away in one swoop. And I think what I'm realizing is I'm inspired, and I've sought a lot of like knowledge from these online influencers that are, kind of have built themselves up through discipline and through pain and sacrifice and like just hustle and trying to make everything work. But what I've noticed is that oftentimes that's built on those external factors. And what I mean by that is you're looking at the market or how things work at the moment, or building up some sort of social proof so that you can create influence in a certain space, so that you can go and then target this and use the data and the analytics and all of that stuff that comes back to then like hone in on this niche that you found in the market and go and like exploit it and blah 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 blah. And it kind of made me think about when I realized I had a bit of a click in my mind for not focusing so much on the external validation. And it was like a few years ago, I had found my way into like a kind of corporate career. And it was the first time after I'd gone back and like changed my career path that I'd gotten myself into a position where I felt like I'm kind of proving myself, and people were impressed by my job and impressed by the company that I worked with. And I was like, great, I'm like showing up in this way that I feel like is important to me. I'm thinking very intentionally about how I'm doing things, how I'm operating, how I'm conducting myself in my work, how I'm doing my job, thinking about how I'm influencing and coming across to other people so that I can be the kind of leader that I wanted to be and operate in the space feeling very much like I've got a very attentional approach to things. And then I realized at some point that I was waiting and had been waiting for a long time for someone to swoop in and go, oh my God, I see you. Like, I see all of the hard work that you're putting in. I see why you show up in the way that you do. I see the care that you take for people. I see the thought that you put into making sure that not only do we like get success, or does a project reach a certain point, or do you mark off something that was responsible, like you were responsible for, but that you do it in a way that like helps everyone win and helps level things up and move together and create the kind of culture that we want to see. And it never came. Like, no one, I realized no one thinks about me that much to notice. And the average working conditions, or the people in your life that you're looking for this kind of external validation from, to go, hey, I see you and I see the hard work you're putting in and I see what you're doing, and like I'm going to either reward this, or I'm going to encourage you, or I'm going to like push you to keep going. Oftentimes, one, it never comes, and two, I realized I was using it for like a proxy to validate myself. So I was like, okay, if I'm doing all these things and I'm impressed by it and I think this is good, and then someone else tells me that they recognize that and that it is good, then I can loop it back to me and be like, oh my God, you're good enough. Like, you are valuable, you are useful, you are worthwhile, like, you're good. And I realized in that process of it not coming, the lesson wasn't that I'm just not doing enough, or I'm not trying enough, or it's not enough in general. It was more that, like, why am I waiting for someone else to validate the things that I find important and I'm showing up as? And that shifted something for me, where it's like, when you're operating in a way, when I was operating like from this internally kind of anchored point where I'm like, okay, if I'm going to show up, I'm going to show up in a particular way that I would want to see and expect to see from people that are like above me, or that have positions that I want to get into, or that I want to emulate, or like the people that role model this kind of behavior. That's who I want to be. I want to do that for myself. I want to be that person for others as well. And I realized that was all from an internal place for me. That was like an anchor that I held to go, this is actually what you find important and what you think is valuable. And waiting for someone else to recognize that and see that when they themselves don't maybe display those behaviors, or aren't in that position, or you don't respect them in that way, expecting that they're going to be able to reflect that and see that and recognize and like reward you in some way for that, is just not realistic to expect. So why am I holding myself back from being able to move forwards based on their evaluation? Could I maybe skip that part and go, hey, I actually have enough of an idea of what I want to like validate this for myself. And I can create my own kind of scorecard to be like, these are the kind of things I expect. This is what I want to see. And if I've been doing that and operating in that way, allow myself to feel confident in it. Allow myself to go, I'm proud of you. Like, I respect that. I see it. Like, you are worthy. You're enough. You're like valid for that. That was a huge shift for me. It also gave me a little bit of an attitude, which I think I also needed to kind of do some work on, because ego is a real thing. But it really did shift something for me, where I was like, oh, no one's coming. Like, no one on a white horse is coming to like save my life, save my day, tell me that I'm good enough. Like, I'm allowed to do that for myself. What are the criteria that I am looking for and expecting in that? And then let's like move to that. And I think what I've realized is, when I'm building things, or when I'm putting something out, or trying to come up with this idea that I want to kind of build for myself at some point in life, the criteria that I'm going to be using to evaluate that is going to be also largely based on what it is that's meaningful for me. And I think when I talked about the kind of social influencers and the people that have all of this kind of success that then gains them this influence, a lot of the time they've built social proof of what they're saying. And so by showing that they've been able to make a ton of money, that they've been able to, if we're talking about like male influencers, build a certain body for themselves, have certain relationships in place, that then shows, okay, I have built social proof, so now you should listen to what I have to say because this works. And I think that's valid in a large way. That helps people realize that you can achieve by allowing yourself to embrace pain in life, to have discipline, to like force yourself to do things that maybe you wouldn't naturally want to do or gravitate to. Um, but that the social proof sometimes is very much external, and it's built on what other people see as success, and the criteria that we use for that then influences who we're listening to and the voices that are telling us what that success means. And, I've watched some of these guys where they're having interviews. I think of Alex Hormozy as someone that I have a lot of respect for, and that, is very, very smart and has built himself to be a real kind of front runner in a lot of spaces when it comes to the business world, but then has a podcast with Tony Robinson and is basically talking about the lack of meaning that he has in life. And like the message from Tony Robinson was really around how we've lost touch with like, we can hone in on this pain and this pressure and this discipline. But at a certain point, if you've achieved some sort of security in your life, and if you've kind of gotten some bases set up for yourself, then that's not enough. Like discipline and pain and all of that is not enough for you to actually feel something. For you to live a life that has meaning, I think you need to actually grow, and you need to be able to like feel as if it's somehow linked to what is meaningful for you. And that comes really in the internal evaluation of things. And so this whole project for me, the Fast and Slow project, is kind of, it's a big step outside of my comfort zone, because what I'm realizing is I struggle with the idea that I have no social proof. Like I don't have social proof that I've made a ton of money, that I've started multiple businesses, that I've built myself to be a certain stature in society. But maybe that's not what should be holding me back. Like what I have been able to do is I've built a foundation within myself where I feel like I've got a good grip on who I am, the value that I have as a person, worked through coming from a place where I felt like completely insecure, totally not confident at all, very much like having a difficult relationship with myself, and very much not liking myself in every version of what that could be, to a point where I'm comfortable enough with who I am to be able to say I like myself and I have a good relationship with myself, and that I feel like part of my growth and the pushing and the pressure comes from this idea of who I'm supposed to be as a person on this earth, not because I need to achieve these things to impress people, not because I need to have a certain number of followers and listeners from this project to then feel valid. It's like I already feel validated in a certain way for myself. And I think that sets you up to be tethered and anchored in a way, or it sets me up to be tethered and anchored in a way that um, you then have, or I have, a foundation to like jump off of. And what enables me to sit here and think, have the audacity to like think I can put something out into the world and have some sort of value for other people. And I think what I'm realizing is through this experiment, I'm feeling that out for myself. I'm going, okay, cool. You think that you've built up your internal base enough for you to jump? Let's jump. Like, you don't have the social proof. You don't have those markers of success. I don't have anything that most people view as the successful tick box. I don't have a ton of money in the bank. I don't have a home that I've bought. I don't have a marriage or a relationship that's long term. I don't have a car. I don't have these things that in society I think people look to as these bases of success. But I have built this foundation in myself that, like, no one really gives you points for. You don't get to write it down and get like people going, oh my God, congratulations. But what you do get is the opportunity then to use that to then keep pushing yourself into these growth zones where it's like, oh, okay, you've understood yourself enough and you've built yourself enough and you have a good enough relationship with yourself that you feel like you deserve to like push and grow and learn and move and achieve things in a way that feels grounded for you. Cool, like, let's try to see if that's the case. Like, push yourself, like, let's go, let's move. And I think I just wanted to share that because I'm also out here building things with AI tools and trying to figure things out. And I'm seeing these videos of especially men like that are up all hours of the night just coding and like, I'm going to build this and I'm going to do this and it's going to be amazing. And it comes from this place of like pain and discipline and like, I'm going to achieve this target and I'm going to do that. And for me, I'm just realizing like a lot of the evaluation of whether that's useful or not is going to come from the internal. And so whatever I do build, even if it gets wiped out by an update from another major player in the market and a business idea that I had that I put my like effort and time into gets completely wiped out, it will be useful and valuable for me to have done that because it's part of growing into who I think I'm supposed to be, who I want to be. And so if you're someone that has been able to set yourself up with having enough kind of discipline and enough force to be able to get yourself to do hard things, but you're finding a struggle with sustaining it, I think it's maybe a signal to like start doing some of that like more internal fuzzy work where it's like I really feel like there's a huge benefit to listening to the signals when your drive is hitting a wall and not just going, oh, it's a lack of motivation, I need to do more stuff. It's like maybe sit with the uncertainty for a quick minute and be like, well, what is this telling me? What is this signaling to me? What change is needed? And so I think I have been struggling in the last little bit to find my voice in this project and expecting that I already know it and I already have it. And then I'm going to like, I don't know, it's going to all read perfectly and people are going to resonate, like it's going to resonate with people and it's all just going to work. And I'm realizing this is actually the work. This is the work. Like being able to sit with the weird feelings, work through that, validate myself and not get caught up in, oh, whether you have this amount of followers or this amount of this or that. Like I was hyped at my 10 YouTube subscribers. Like when I tell you I was hyped, I was hyped. And that's because it just means something to me, that something that is valuable to me and putting it out in the world that like anyone wants to listen, anyone cares, anyone is interested. And so if I can keep managing to seek out the internal respect and validation of what I'm doing and knowing that the growth for me is going to be specific to me, it's not going to look like what someone else's looks like. And it's not going to be the quote unquote successes that someone else is looking for. It's going to be what I need and want. I'm trying to lay that foundation and embed that in my mind so that I can kind of layer that throughout this project. And that's kind of what I wanted to share today.